Julie Van Rosendaal is here, and she's going to prepare a tasty recipe. Browning, braising, beef involved. It's stupendous.
It's stupendous! Awesome.
I didn't write that.
That was brilliant.
Credit to the writers. Thank you.
Comedy genius.
All right, so what are we doing here, Julie?
So I'm trying to get this pan nice and hot so I can brown my beef. We're doing just a classic beef stew. I mean, when you think about stew, you can stew all kinds of different meats. But beef is a classic. If you use some chuck, some, stewing meat, you can just get at the grocery store. It's already cubed for you. And it's the kind of cut of meat that needs a long, slow cooking time. So typically it's braised or stewed. The two terms are often confused. In fact, a lot of people, I learned this week, think of braising as browning meat. But really you brown before you braise. So braising is a long, slow cooking process, just like stewing, but typically it uses a slightly less liquid.
So right now we're browning.
So we're browning our beef. You could use, game meat is great for stews or braises. And we're going to brown it. I have a little bit of canola oil.
Canola.
It's cold pressed, so it's nice and yellow. And you want to brown your meat first, just to add flavor. And those brown bits are what is going to create the gravy, right? When you roast meat, and you make gravy out of the bits in the bottom of the roasting pan. So you want your pan nice and hot. It's kind of medium hot right now, which is good. We're not causing any smoke or anything. But you want to get some color on your meat. Now, a lot of recipes, when they instruct you to start your stew, they say season your flour and then shake your cubes of meat around in your flour, and then brown them. But I find then you brown the flour and not the meat itself. So I like to brown the meat itself, even if I'm doing it in the slow cooker. You can do a stew in the slow cooker. I like to just take a few minutes and brown the meat to get some added flavor. If you want to add some flour, you can shake the flour over top. In fact, Julia Child, when she does her beef bourguignon, which is really just fancy name for beef stew, she shakes the flour over top and then broils it under the oven to toast the flour a little bit, and that sort of gives an extra dimension of flavor. So what I do is just salt and pepper. Pat your meat dry to help it brown. You don't want to crowd the pan. If you crowd it too much, your meat is going to sort of steam instead of browning properly. And don't worry about cooking it all the way through or browning it on all sides. You just want to get some good color.
Decent sear.
You want to get a decent sear. And it doesn't seal in the juices like people think. It just creates an extra layer of flavor. Am I blowing your mind right now?
You're really debunking all of the myths that I've been living by.
Food myths. Oh, here's a good one. So you want a nice close-up. You want a nice brown color. So this meat is going to take 2.5, 3 hours to cook.
I didn't know about that giving the meat space either. I would have just tossed it all in there.
No, you want to give it space. Whether you're roasting, anytime you want to brown your meat, whether you're roasting it in the oven or your vegetables, or in the stovetop, don't crowd it, because then it's all releasing liquid and it's going to steam. So whether you're doing, you can do lamb this way. Lamb is great. Lamb shanks. Anything with those tough connective tissues that need to break down. So we're going to give it a bit of a brown. Let's pretend this is a little bit browner than it actually is, but that's okay. It'll still work just fine.
Then what happens?
Then we'll add some onions, carrots, celery. Classic. The trilogy. Some garlic if you like. And just get those sort of loosening up the brown bits in the bottom of the pan. Now, because the meat is going to braise for a long time, 2.5 to 3 hours, you don't want to put your potatoes and any vegetables, parsnips, rutabaga, any of your root vegetables that are in season right now. You don't want to put them in right away because they'll start to break down and they'll fall apart after they've been in the oven for 3 hours.
What about those lentils? When do those go in?
What I like to do, I'm going to add lentils along with the stock. Is put in my onions and celery and some carrots. You could save your carrots. And then you want to add some stock or some wine or beer. Anything, like if you have beer that's left over and it goes flat, I save it for stews. Because I don't like wasting stuff.
And
it's going to go flat anyway. So stew typically has more liquid than a braise. With a braise, you'd put, and braise is like a pot roast or a lamb shake, like a lamb.
Yes.
You'd add about enough liquid to go halfway up the meat. Stew, you want to add a little bit more.
Okay.
So you could add some balsamic vinegar here. You could add a little soy sauce for color and salt, some sprigs of thyme. Like I said, any kind of liquid. Some people add cans of tomatoes with their juice.
Sure.
So whatever liquid you have around, a few sprigs of thyme or rosemary is good. And then I like to put in some dry lentils.
Got it.
Because yesterday was Global Pulse Day. Every day is Pulse Day in my house. I love them. They're so good for you.
Healthy.
They're so good for the environment. These are dry green lentils, which, you know that Saskatchewan is the biggest exporter of lentils in the world?
I didn't know that.
Canada grows 65% of the world's lentils.
Go Canada. Go Saskatchewan.
So these are just little dry lentils. You don't need to soak them. You don't need to pre-cook them. They'll just simmer in the gravy, and they take on the flavor of whatever they cook in. So I like to add lentils to like pasta sauce and chili. These are whole green lentils. You could use split red lentils, which will sort of dissolve a little bit more.
Are we covering that?
And we're going to cover it. And what you can do is cook it on the stove top or on really low heat for 2.5 to 3 hours, or you can transfer it to the oven about 250, 300 degrees for same length of time.
Beautiful.
And then the meat will fall apart. Add some potatoes if you want to add like new potatoes. Add them towards the end, or green beans, peas. About 15 minutes from the end, stir them in, cover it up again, and they'll cook right through, and they won't fall apart.
Comfort food right there. Thank you, Julie. I've learned so many things today.
Yay.
Now that unfinished bottle of beer, Andrew Schultz, you'd never have that.
I have to talk to Julie about that. I've never had a beer go flat in my entire life. I don't know what that means exactly.